Alright, it's going to be a little shorter stream today. Not a lot of good flow coming in, but just going to kind of look at what's coming in here, kind of review what we're looking at throughout the day here. But first up, we'll kind of look at the market tide. It's been choppy for most of the day today. Nothing major there, just a lot of call volume though. That put premium really just dipped there. Your all put premiums dipped there out of the money, still ask side there. Call premiums slightly ask side there. All call premiums pretty much leading the way. Meta is your main contributor to that. And because Jay-Z hopped in there, so I gotta quick pop that back over there. SPY is contributing to your put premiums there. Just not a lot of major pieces sticking out. Yeah, Meta's pretty much your main contributor there. Tesla, gold. Otherwise, yeah, just not a whole bunch there. One interesting thing I am watching, though, is that volume today. Again, another quieter volume-wise day. Just not getting a lot of volume the last week. You can just see everything here is still well below their 30-day averages. And flow-wise, ETF flow just not a ton here, not a ton. Silver calls earlier in the day there. Obviously, silver's kind of down a little bit here, a little longer term there. But our actual flow feed here, getting a lot of hut calls right now. So let's take a peek at these. We got the 46, 47, 48 being hit there. This is the only one that's right at the ask here, but let's take a peek at these. So that 48 call, these are 12% out of the money. We're already up almost 7% on the day. So these almost might be a chase here. Let's see. So that IV does pop when that comes in. So this one is definitely part of that. Let's see. You got some multi-legs over here, some smaller size. Yeah, 5% multi-leg, so it's not a massive amount. I want to look at these other ones here. That 40. Let's look at the 46. Yeah, you're just up so much on the day, and these are weeklies. I'm not a fan of the weeklies. You're pretty much chasing those now. Let's look at our feed. So that IV does pop when it comes in. IV sitting there, so you're getting a little drop in that IV there. IV pops again there at the ask side. Then it's kind of just bouncing around here. Pops towards the end, and then you have another drop there. I think these may be sells at the ask here, which could make a little sense. You are that IV again. Pretty spiked there. So if you get a drop, they're going to really collect some premium on those contracts. And obviously weekly with theta could see a pullback. I mean, the 7% move is a pretty big move on the day. Then let's look at the 46. No, we looked at the 46. It was the 47. 47, yeah, you just see how that IV drops, pops. It's just kind of floating around here. It does kind of spike towards the end. That one is coming in above the ask. I just don't get the best feeling on those. You're pretty much chasing those. Let's see what else we got coming in. And if anybody wants me to look at anything, feel free to drop it in the chat. A lot of Tesla calls here too on that 1226. What do we got here? So definitely opening today. We got 3,000 there. What do we got here? About 1,000 there. So you got about 3,000 here and then 3,000 there. Definitely will want to check that open interest tomorrow, just to double check and make sure they're not getting out at the ask. Because that volume is, I mean, you're 3,058 right there, 1,000, roughly 1,000 there, a little over 1,000 there. That's gets to your ask side candle there. So definitely something to watch there. That open interest on those tomorrow. IoT, this is some earnings flow coming in right now, so this is kind of not getting 100% a gamble if it's anything earnings related. Yeah, just a lot of flow here too, and you don't know how much of this is going to carry over or whatnot. Just a lot of volume spikes here, and it's a lot of large candles, some smaller candles inside. My guess is probably majority of it should carry over, but again, earnings flow, they report today, I believe. IoT today, yep. Later this afternoon. NFE1 puts. I'm not a fan of the penny stocks. 30% out of the money on a penny stock. That's crazy there. Let's look at our flow. Pop this out. I think that might be so a little earlier flow. I remove that time filter here. So this is when it starts to kind of come in here. So there's a lot of flow before it too. 187. Yeah, that IV is just kind of all over the place again on this one. Not coming in right at the ask, but that 79 is a lot closer to the ask side there. And I'm just not a fan of that IV popping. You can see it drop kind of on that larger size and premium there. Not a big fan of that. Then it drops here again as well. Then you rise again. Yeah, it's just kind of all over the place here. And it's a one put. I mean, that's 30% out of the money there. It's a 40-cent move. So not a huge fan of the penny stocks. Let's see, what else do we got today? Small size on those coin puts. What do we got on that large spike? 547, 159, 300, 4. Yeah, have to double check that open interest on this one, but we'll look at our big candle here just to see if we get any clues at all. So that IV does spike when that flow comes in. And it is filling at the ask here, so a couple cents below, or a penny below the ask there. IV drops, comes back up. 2058, so the 58 part more than likely is related to this because it's coming in that same second. Even that 59, I would probably take an educated guess it's related to that. I mean, you're within a second here, and that IV kind of drops on those, so I'm not really confident in that flow there either. Yeah, just not a lot of good flow today. Been a very quiet kind of week of flow. These Intel calls are really interesting. Oh, we got a big spike here now. But we had a lot of spikes earlier throughout the day on Intel here. This was going to be when you'd have to check that open interest on tomorrow anyways, but big spike at the bid here at close. Let's see if looks like an exit here. So let's see, 58.19. Okay, let's pop this out. Oh, I was like, what is on my leg? It's the dog. So yeah, just kind of looking at that IV here. Let's go find where that whale came in again. So you see how that IV's up here, and then you start getting that, essentially that alert here, and you just see it. Just go over here, click, and take a peek in there. I like to look at the full feed, but See how that IV drops there? You are coming in at the bid there. Now let's see. 58.30, so that IV technically spikes there, and this more than likely, the 14.32 here, again, probably related to the alert here. That IV spikes, and that IV spikes here again as well. Then you come up here, IV spikes when that comes in, then it drops, and then your IV drops here again too. Yeah, these little messier feed there, but I would probably guess that red candle is an exit there. Again, this is one you have to check that open interest on tomorrow. What else do we got here? Not too much pips, so you're not really missing too much. I'm just kind of going through the feed from earlier. There's just not a ton of solid flow. These open calls look kind of interesting. Do have some previous open interest we can look at though. These ones look like they kind of already moved a little bit. I just want to look at that previous open interest. So I had a big whale cut on the 18th there. Let's go back there. What was that? The 11.18. So I wonder if that may have been an 8 call. I wonder if open was in the money back then, because you don't see that volume on the day. What were we at on the 18th? So we're sitting at that. Looks like 750. That's it's probably part of a multi-leg somewhere. No, that's an interesting one there. So you don't show any volume on the day, then a big drop in that. That is a very interesting one there. Don't really have a clear answer for that one right off the bat. So that volume today, let's go back to today. That is a very interesting find there though. So the opens, which are already kind of up. Come back down here. Alright. So that IV drops when it comes in. Then it spikes again. Drops a little bit there, pops there, then it spikes again on that second alert there. Yeah, this one, I mean, it's already up anyways. 113 trading at 132 now. Yeah, definitely wouldn't chase that one now, but big move there. I'm really curious to, I'm gonna have to look at this after hours a little bit more, because that's really interesting, because I don't, when you pop back here to the 18th, I mean, you don't see any of that volume where that 18th would be. Oh, yeah, there's your 18th, but you just don't have a candle there. That's a very interesting one. And it shows 5,000 contracts there. I'm gonna take a picture of this one. This one's very interesting. Very interesting. And I'm going to take a screenshot of this. I'm going to make Stoner Man look at this, because this is a little confusing to me. I wonder if it's a reporting error at some point. But, okay, let's move on there. That is a very good one. Usually I don't run into much stuff where I'm like, I can't give a good explanation, but that is one. That is one with the reporting there. Let's see what else do we got. The Neo call, those have been getting hit all day today. Lots of volume on Neo here. Have to obviously double check that open interest tomorrow. It's up pretty good today. Those gap calls from earlier, those were very interesting. Those are actually up as well now. And it looks like that whale's still in, and that whale from Monday also is still in too. So I'm curious to see what goes on, and there's still a lot of time on those as well too. Let's go back here. Yeah, these, when that flow comes in, I mean, clear IV pop there, flow's coming in at the ask. IV rises here on some bigger size and premium. IV rises here again as well. Couple of little, maybe some retail, or more than likely probably part of this 1032.35 there. IV dropped a little bit on the one, comes back up, and then you continue to rise here that entire way up here, and then even on another couple bigger sizes, about 15 seconds later, you got that rise in the IV again, not overlapping or anything. So yeah, this is some really interesting flow here. Very interesting. Obviously, it's already kind of moved up a little bit on the day. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it's just been really dry for flow, and kind of as I was showing it, everybody that was in here right away at the beginning, that tide is just, I mean, you're essentially sitting just choppy for most of the day. It looks like we're kind of running towards close here a little bit. But your all put premiums dropped pretty heavily quick there. Out of the money only calls pretty much flat. Out of the money puts, little ask side. And your all call premiums leading the way, with Meta leading the way. And then sector flow wise, yeah, again, another very low volume day. Another very, very low volume day. It's been a pretty low volume month so far. I mean, again, only 3 days in technically. But again, something to keep eyes on there. And I'm hoping I can do a longer live tomorrow. I hope we get a little more flow tomorrow, because I've been itching to do these lives and I just can't when there's no flow. These are firm calls earlier. Interesting to see that open interest tomorrow, but those contracts, 196, looks like they're back up to 202. Yeah, that IV pops that entire time. Spot price rises. Yeah, those Tesla calls are kind of hit all day. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the flow coming in too. Not right at the ask, not right at the bid. You're getting just kind of crappier fills with wider bid-ask spreads. It's not the best environment to trade. I mean, these RGTIs that come in, and let's go back here. Like when that came in here, this is that first trade on the morning there. You don't know what that surrounding flow looks like. I mean, when that flow came in again, it's just this one line. So it's a block trade essentially with, so all those contracts are coming in at once. You don't get that clean solid read like that other flow we're looking at, where you can kind of follow that IV up, look at that spot price. So I mean, this one again, and that fill is just, or that bid ask is just so wide where it's just not the cleanest view. And again, this is closer to the ask side, obviously, but it moved. It moved, and it could have moved the whole other way too. You just never know. You just never know. Let's see, what else do we have here? Yeah, just a lot of low volume. A lot of low volume contracts. So you're not just, nothing super, super strong. Yeah, those gaps I highlighted. B, I'm guessing it's a block trade here. And just lots of little volume spikes here. Yeah, you see how it's that block trade there and the IV spikes there, but don't really have anything to go after. Well, and this is all one trade as well, too. That times all to the second there, so. Well, that IV rises. This essentially probably is a block trade because you coming in at the same second there. It's kind of a coin flip on stuff like that. Then yeah, just a lot of volume after that. Makes that my guess is probably taking some profits here off that big run. I mean, there are weeklies next week. NAK. Where was I when these came in 11? Oh, I was getting food. These are kind of flat still. IV spikes when those come in. Spot is coming in at the ask. 69.12, 66.53, so that drops on one contract. Not a huge issue there. 69.12. Yeah, that's interesting. I would probably make a very good educated guess. This 11.02.09 is related to the 11.02 9 seconds later. Pretty big size. That spread is horrendous there when that large size and premium come in there. These probably would lean buys on the 44% out of the money. That is kind of far out of the money for something that's already up 8% on the day. Again, essentially a penny stock. I am not a fan of the penny stocks. Let's see what else we got. So that was the 3. Was that the 3 call we looked at? Yes, it was. 3 call, yeah. 78, the 7 call, also kind of being tagged there a little earlier in the day. 3 call, 43 days out. Yeah, they're also far out of the money. That's just the only thing. And again, penny stocks, just got to be cautious about those. Are trading 1.29 times the daily volume. So those stronger volume days obviously are getting a decent percent change. And our net call premiums, I mean, big drop in bid side yesterday. Then here's that flow yesterday. I want to look at that flow from yesterday. Let me go to my screener. So NAK. Let me reset that. NAK, go back to yesterday. Oh wait, yesterday was Wednesday. So this was your bid side call from yesterday, it looks like. Let's pop this back to yesterday. So that was your big drop in the bid side net call premiums. So you can see, looks like we dropped there about 245. This came in about 245, 250. So again, just kind of looking at that flow feed here, I would probably have read these as, okay, so earlier 151 at open. Let's come back to the end here. Where's our big, is that part of a multi-leg? Yes, it is part of a multi-leg. I was like, where is half of that flow? So a lot of that coming in there. So there, okay, your ask side here at 1452. So you're at 115.25. So that IV does drop after. Yeah, in real time, I would probably look at these and say they are sells at the ask. Obviously, they are 43 days out, but that's what caused your net call premium to drop there, but massively in the money as well, too, which would have been. So up 8% today. They were about 20% in the money yesterday. What else do we have yesterday? So more bid side calls here on the 2-5. So yeah, I mean, a lot of this bid side flow is making a move up today, but it doesn't, and just because it's bid side doesn't mean it's a sell. So now these, yeah, again, I mean, that IV drops when it comes in here, so that is very interesting. And the penny stock too, so I mean, that IV isn't, I wouldn't say as reliable as normal flow. Is this that one that's part of the, no. Yeah, that's interesting flow for sure. A lot of that coming at the bid, and that's where you were seeing that bid side premium kind of impact that net premium chart there. All right, what else do we have? RCAT, what are these? So again, see that bid ask 165 to 175, spots coming in at 170, essentially a mid fill there, very low size, definitely an opener though. Come in here, 56% out of the money, very, very long term on those, and they are up 10% already on the day. This will be the last one. I didn't even realize it was 3 yet. Okay, so IV spikes when they come in, and they are coming in at the ask right away there, it looks like. Let's see when that spot price kind of gets messed up there. So let's see, following that up, 170, 170, 69, 170. So I would probably say these are coming in at the ask. I don't see where did that show me that? The RCAT's 170, so 175. 170. So when did that spread kind of go to that 175? So towards the end here. So I would probably lean and say these are probably at the ask for the most part. I just don't like chasing something that is that far out of the money and initially shows that it's kind of a mid-ish, ask side-ish fill there. But all right, that was a pretty short live today. Hopefully tomorrow we can do a longer one. Oh wait, sorry, I didn't see I forgot I didn't turn my speaker back on, so I didn't hear you guys pinging me. Let's look at, so MG, we did look at your Neo calls there. Let me just go back to them again quick. That Neo 5 call, yeah, those been getting hit all day on those, and that would be one where you got to check that open interest. And then let me just grab serve quick for you, Pipsy here. I didn't turn my speaker back on. I'm hoping that helped the mic with the sound issues, but let me just check serve quick for you. So serve. Yeah, I think what my issue is, because I've been turning the speaker off when I start the live, so I can make sure it doesn't get connected. And then when I turn the speaker back on, for some reason, I think the computer's just trying to mess up with the connection. But we'll test it again tomorrow. But for your serve here, so I see that 13.5 call that expires tomorrow. That's an interesting one, kind of lower premium. Let me do it by premium here. So a longer term one here. We'll look at that 7 call. It's very, very long term and 108% out of the, oh. Okay, that was odd. It kind of, okay, 108% out of the money. IV drops on those, so not a fan of that. I just want to see what else I got here. Yeah, and essentially it looks like your price is caught up to your net call premiums. how about, so yeah, a lot of, just trying to look at my highest volume. That 13.5 is kind of the only one that looks decent. That expires tomorrow, but I don't have a good feeling about it after the big run up today. Yeah, that IV spikes, and if you even get any pullback tomorrow with these being contracts that expired, yeah, no, Pipsy, it's muted for you. I don't hear you at all. I think I have it set so unless I explicitly invite you to speak, it won't hear. So, nope, you guys are always good. But yeah, your IV spikes. I mean, that IV is massive there. Very massive IV. I'm just not a fan of chasing it, especially if they expire tomorrow. 4% out of the money, you're going to need a good move tomorrow, but yeah, not too much on those. Yeah, it's pretty weak day of flow. I do want to look at the sector flow quick one more time before I get off here. I want to see what that volume finished at on the day. Yeah, 55. Yeah, almost 30 million below the 30-day average again. Just not getting that strong volume days. So, but all right, everybody. I'm hoping to do a longer live tomorrow. Hoping we get some flow or something, so I don't have to sit and kind of just blab. But all right, thanks for hanging out for the short time, everyone. Have a great night.